I could have chosen a BMW, a Porsche, a Benz, hell, even a Lamborghini, but instead, I chose a C8 Corvette. Now, why would I do that? To be honest, it's pretty simple. 2 reasons. America and bow tie till I die, baby. First things first, I know people love to say, oh, a Corvette, it's the poor man's supercar. To be honest, what poor man do you know is driving a Corvette? Like, come on, like, are we serious? I haven't yet to see a poor Corvette owner. I would love to see one. That would be very interesting. Like, how do you afford that? Are you homeless? Are you living in the Corvette? Like, no. But hey, you know what they say? Perception is reality. And I promise you, if I see somebody in a Corvette, I'm not thinking they poor whatsoever. Now, I'm not thinking they're the richest person in the world, but decent, decent living, they're living pretty nice. And I know I only got a Stingray, but I'm not even gonna downplay myself and be like, oh, it's only a Stingray. Trust me, a Stingray is more than enough for most people. If you leave it at that, good for you. Now, not just a regular Stingray, this is a Stingray, baby. This is Z51.
Hey, Z51, homie.
This thing has 495 reasons why it's not something ordinary. That amount of horsepower, trust me, you could go a lot further with far less. So 495 is more than enough. And when I do eventually upgrade to the big almighty Z06, it's not called the supercar killer for no reason. The Corvette punches far above its weight. Like it just is what it is. That poor man supercar thing, it's just because those people that are paying those $200,000, $300,000 price tags are just jealous that Corvette is doing it for much less. It just is what it is. With me getting the Corvette and now making a page and posting it, GTG Vet, follow me on all platforms. But with me posting that and now having an algorithm full of car stuff, because before, be honest, I wasn't a car guy. I'm not gonna sit here where they say now LARPing. I'm not gonna act like I'm a car guy. With me having this car, I'm starting to be a lot more accustomed to it and I'm learning what is what. I'm embracing it. I'm actually falling in love with it, but I'm not gonna sit here and consider myself a car guy. No, I'm just getting into this and I'm learning as I go, and it is so fascinating. With me now having an algorithm full of car stuff, I'm seeing these comments and all this content from other people, and they're dissing the Corvette, and they're like, oh, what you could get for this amount of money, for $70,000 you can get this, you can get that. And the vehicles that I'm seeing that people reference that people with Corvettes should get, they're talking about like some 04, 08, 06, 1990. I'm like, oh, brother, I don't care what that make and model is, brother. It could be an 04 Bugatti. It just doesn't make sense to go that far back to try to get some hypercar, right? I just wouldn't like, okay, cool, you have the status of having a Lamborghini, a Ferrari or whatever, but it's so old. And even then, I mean, they do hold their value. They are still pretty expensive, but nah, I'm good on that. And with the Lamborghinis, I've heard a lot of those cars, they're locking the miles. So they'll be like super old and low mileage, but they're not actually low mileage, right? They have like some stopper on the miles or whatever. I heard there's a lot of scams going on with them hypercars. I'm just calling it like I see it. Now I mentioned the price, and obviously, this isn't in the same bracket as a Lamborghini, as a Ferrari. Yes, people call them the supercar killers, and they relate the Z06 to those as far as performance goes and whatnot. But let's be honest, they're for a base model of a Corvette versus a base model Lamborghini or whatever. We're talking about like what, at minimum 3x. I think those things start off at like maybe 180, 200,000. I could be wrong. I'm not too familiar with like the Lamborghini Huracans or Ferrari. I don't even know what the Ferraris are. It's just like Ferrari, right? I'm not too sure. But I know those things are well into a different bracket, right? The bracket they are in, you can go to ZR1, maybe even a ZR1X, and far better performance. To be honest, right now, we know the ZR1X is killing everything. So with me, I'm a huge fan of a Vet. So if I had that type of bread to get a vehicle, I would honestly go ZR1X. The price bracket that this C8 Stingray is in, it's comparable to the Porsches and the BMWs, which, don't get me wrong, are nice cars. I love me a Porsche. They look clean. They hold that status. A Beamer, my dad had an old school, when they were more boxy, right? But a Beamer has always been a Beamer. Like, I know what it is. They're always been, nice. I hear, issues, but you hear issues about every vehicle or whatever. Maybe it's just somebody hating on them or whatever. Maybe some are just common occurrences. But in the day, those are nice vehicles, right? And they are in the same, not tax bracket, but the actual same price bracket of something like this, like a M3 Comp. A little bit better performance. It does, in Rolling Star, or even from the Dig, this probably gets it from 0 to 60. But after that, that M3 Comp does eventually catch the Stingray. But I think when you look at the M3 Comps, for right around the same, they're around like maybe 90,000. So like an extra 10 to 20,000 more than the C8 Stingray. When I look at BMWs, this is no diss towards them whatsoever. I do like a good Beamer, like I said. I never really knew the difference between the I didn't know I thought they only had luxurious ones, right? I didn't know until I got into cars that they had performance models. And with those performance models comes the M3 Comp. it's nice. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's not, but to somebody that didn't know vehicles, I don't know how many M3 comps I saw in my life. To me, they're just nice sedans, and there's nothing wrong with that, whatever. I would honestly get a BMW, so this is no shade to you guys at all. I'm just saying for somebody that lacks that knowledge of vehicles, before I gain that knowledge and understanding of vehicles, I wouldn't appreciate me seeing an M3 comp. I'm just like, oh, cool, nice, luxurious sedan. Nothing about it. I wouldn't even know what it was able to do until like now, me being in the cars, I know, oh, that thing's got some get up in it, right? A Porsche, I'll give more to. Like a BMW, I said, lack of knowledge, I would think is a nice sedan. A Porsche, no matter what, a Porsche is a Porsche. Now I see their SUV models or whatever, those are ordinary to me, but you know, you see a Porsche, was it Cayman or whatever it is, those are nice. I'm like, oh shit, that's the thing off Lightning McQueen. That was his girlfriend or whatever. I know them things are nice and they'd be moving, they're real agile, real light. I can acknowledge like those are, to me, are better than like the M3 comps and stuff like that. Maybe not performance wise, but look wise to me, as far as like the more of the standout factor, right? And with something like the Porsche, you get the Porsche, what, 718 Boxster, that's in the same price bracket as this. Definitely to me stands out more than the BMW whatever, and it is in that same price bracket, but you got to go with the base model, right? And the base model performance wise just cannot compete with the C8. It just is what it is. You would have to, for what you would have to get to compete with this and beat it, I think you would have to go approach 6 figures. And if I'm going to go with 6 figures, I'm going E-Ray. Now I'm going Grand Sport X. That bridges that gap between this and the Z06. But honestly, if I'm already right there in 6 figures, maybe just go more and go ahead and go to Z06. But minimum, I know I can get a Grand Sport X or E-Ray, and that's outdoing a lot of things. Hell, them things damn near make the Z06 look obsolete when it comes to a straight line. Of course, the track's a different realm, and that's where the Z06 shines. So I wouldn't mind getting an E-Ray or now a Grand Sport X. Now, when I was deciding which Corvette to get between the C8 or the C7, I was weighing, you know, I was like, performance-wise, I get a Z06 with the C7, but for the looks, I like the C8 more. But I also like the C7 more. I do think the C7 looks the best out of all of them, but it was a toss-up, man. I just like the newness of the C8 warranty-wise. I was like, man, but that C7, it looks Batmobile. It looks like one of the meanest cars I've seen. So I do want one of those eventually. If I could have multiple Corvettes, I would have a C7 and a C6 as well. Right now, it seems like a lot of people are just obsessed with the foreign cars, and it's always been a thing, you know, from, you know, you listen to rap, you listen to music, you just, any sort of, you know, social media presence. Everybody knows a foreign car, right? Foreign, foreign, foreign. Oh, they want their women foreign, cars foreign, hell, house foreign. You know, I like traveling to foreign countries. It feels amazing, right? But to me, when it comes down to cars, yes, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, all these crazy exotic cars that are foreign look nice. But I just never been obsessed with those. I just love that hating on American muscle isn't style. It just feels good to kind of like, I guess, be the minority. I don't know. I don't think, you know, being in America, most people got American muscle. You don't see foreign cars. That's why they're foreign, right? You don't see them as much as you see the American cars. Makes sense, right? Same thing if you go to those countries. Our vehicles are not considered their foreigns. You know, probably a Hellcat to them seems like, oh my God, what's that? Or just any Charger, right? That's just probably something insane. BMWs and that type of stuff is more of their common traffic, whereas vice versa here. Lastly, the Corvette has always been my dream car. I've always wanted a Corvette, and now to have it, it gives me a sense of achievement. We've awakened that inner child in us that, you know, it's not like a midlife crisis thing. I did this responsibly, right? I could afford it. I have the money, but like, it wakes that kid up in me that like, hey, you accomplished what you said you were gonna do. Whether you knew it or not, you did it. So it's like, I feel that every time I get in this vehicle, every time I hear it, just everything about it, it just takes me back to that moment of life to be like, man, you really did it, bro. So I'm in love with this vehicle. Ever since I've gotten it, I have not been able to stop driving it. It has become the daily. The truck, it honestly just sits there now. I try to take it out like 1 or 2 times a week, but you know, eventually I may get back in it. Kind of been thinking about supercharging the truck just for some fun, but nah, I don't need to be messing that up. I need a good old reliable daily, and I don't know, the superchargers, I think they're pretty reliable, right? But I don't want to introduce any issues. And like I said, I'm enjoying every bit of this vehicle, and I hope you are too, whether that's in a Corvette, a BMW, a Porsche, a Honda. It doesn't matter what it is, Toyota, Supra, Nissan, doesn't matter what the vehicle is. I don't care, I don't discriminate. Like, I'll sit here and take a picture with somebody, talk to somebody. Like, I've never been that type of person to feel like I'm too good for somebody, anything like that. Anybody that's like that in the car space, weirdo. So that's why I chose a C8 Corvette over those foreign cars. And if you chose one of those foreign cars or C8, whatever it is, it does not matter. We have different opinions, and it is what it is. I still support you. I still can acknowledge that you have a nice vehicle. End of the day, we all in it for something similar. We all got kind of similar interests when it comes down to that.